Alright, hey guys, so I just wanted to show you about 5 or 6 photos from this current set I'm working on. It's a bit darker over home, so I think it could be useful to kind of demonstrate how I shoot and edit this set. Alright, so first thing I want to get started from is what I do in Lightroom. So I've got a starting preset here that I use. So basically, just to review that, I do a bit of contrast, bring down my highlights, up the shadows, and then I up the whites and down the blacks a tad bit. And then just to add a bit more kind of sharpness and contrast, I'll also do about 15 or 17 clarity and then 5 dehaze, a little bit of saturation. And then I take down my yellow tones about 30. And I actually just added this the negatives on the blues just because this is my ambient layer. So when I blend that into my flash layer, I want it to have less blue. That's something that I do afterwards. And so before I export into Photoshop, I'll run through all my images and kind of take a look and do minor tweaks with the exposure brush or with the saturation, things like that. All right, so that's first image, and then I've got a window pool here. So the window pool, the only thing different that I did was I kind of added some more saturation. And I think I brought down my highlights a little more too because it was pretty bright outside. So I want that mountain to show in the background. And then I just did a window pool with my flash, making it easier to blend later on. So we got a stronger flash layer here from the back. And then I was on a cam ranger here doing a side-to-side technique. So we got left side, right side. And then on the next image, I had two ambients, one really bright, one darker, kind of same bright flash, and then some side-to-side action. And then things like bathrooms, you don't always have to do side-to-side. Let me just make sure I'm recording here. Okay, I'm recording. Didn't want to waste half an hour talking to myself. So back to the image here. So here's, I took 2 ambients of the bathroom, and then even though it was an ambient layer, there was no light coming from the shower. So I kind of had my Godox 200 at like 1/32 of power there just to kind of add some light back there. And then just used one flash layer. It's already pretty good how it is. And so these images, the photos I'm showing you now are the ones that we're going to edit once I put them into Photoshop. So a few more ambient layers here on this image. This is for the window pool if I actually end up using it. Then there's about 4 or 5 flash layers here. Some of them are kind of extra, not needed, but better to have them than to not have them. And then kind of running through here. And I think you're good on seeing them in Lightroom. So then, of course, what we do is all the photos that we're going to use, select, right-click, edit into Photoshop. So layers into Photoshop. And I've already got them here just to spare you the waiting time. So let's start with this. This is a pretty dark room. Let's mask out these ambient layers. So what I do is I'm going to put the ambience into a folder, and then I duplicate that folder. This is a process I don't see others do. I just like to do personally. So now that I've got 2 copies of my ambient, make that top one luminosity and keep the bottom one normal. This is a window pool layer. Again, I did add some saturation and brought down highlights in there just because it's got a golf course view and make sure to show that. Just another window pool without as much flash going on in case there's some reflection in the window. And now we are to the flash layers here. So just to review, I'm gonna bring this one on top here. I'm gonna mask out myself from this layer. This is kind of following that side-to-side flash technique. Settings here, I was at my ISO 640, f-stop 7.1. Shutter was probably 1/125th or 1/60th. Because I've already got my window pool, I'm not trying to expose the window just for the room. Makes it a lot easier to try and expose to the room and do a quick window pool versus kind of continuousness and to keep messing around with your settings just to get the window properly exposed with your flash layers. So I probably can't do much more with this layer. Go ahead and blend these together. And then I've still got this other one on bottom to mess around with. Maybe I can use some of this. Let's take a look. So I can fix the ceiling like right up here. See that in the corner? I'm gonna try and mask in some of that and fix that ceiling. Maybe I didn't do the best job here on site, but not to worry, we've got the ambient layers here to work with. So before I go into luminosity layers, sometimes they can kind of create some weird colors. And I'm gonna first attempt to use my ambient here. So I'm gonna see what it's giving me. It's a little green. So before I blend that, I'm just gonna go and kind of do a quick color balance fix to make it a tad bit less green, just to kind of match my flash layer. One thing really useful to do in Lightroom is make sure that your flash layers match your ambient. Makes it a lot easier to blend in post. And then to also kind of try and do that on site as well. So now it's much closer together. I could probably just blend in my ambient layer. I'm at 30% brush tool softness all the way down, or hardness at 0. So it doesn't blend too harshly there. And there's kind of some harsh shadows there too, as well as up here in this corner. And then I'm gonna kind of see what my ambient layer is doing. So I invert back and forth all the time just to kind of see where the light's going, what I can make look better with the layer above. So see this little window reflection up here, or mirror reflection? I'm gonna kind of blend in some ambient here. Doesn't need to be perfect, it's just a window or a mirror reflection. I don't need that to look perfect. So we got that. Before I forget, let's go ahead and one thing I'll also do is I'll pull up my windows. I'll put them above the ambient. So when I'm brushing in my ambient, it doesn't expose into the windows. So with that flash layer inverted again, I'm gonna try and put that in darken mode and see if that kind of helps it blend easier. So now when I manually brush this, it should be a lot easier to do. You don't always have to like go through and lasso the windows. I'll increase hardness just to make it a bit quicker and kind of go through here. And that way, if you kind of do hit the edge of that window pane, it might not be noticeable. So that's where the blend mode darken comes in handy. It's only blending in what's darker than the layer below. I believe that's how that works. Let's see here. Yeah, I mean, so it's looking pretty darn good with not much effort, and then you can go through and fix things afterwards. And I skipped that window on purpose. We're gonna come back to it just I think there was some reflection there from my flash. Fix that chair. And this one I will just lasso really quick just to kind of, so when I use the darker layer that it didn't flash, it'll be okay. So I'm just gonna double checking if there's reflection here. You know, it's not too bad. So pull the other layer on top now. A little bit of kind of like a reflection and glare right there from the flash hitting it. Same with this window here. Oh, there we go. All right, so now just kind of to fix all the glares I got. This is kind of tweaking it to be perfect. You don't need to make each image perfect when you're editing pictures for a realtor. Most of these things they won't even notice. I'm just kind of getting more details because I'm showing you. So now I'm back in my luminosity layers for the ambient. Just kind of seeing what else, if I need to blend something else in. I'm really not sure I do. I kind of prefer the flashy look. That's kind of what I sell. So maybe I'll darken this a little bit here just because it is a little bit bright and flashy. But otherwise, I think we're pretty good. I'm gonna save that, go on to the next one. That's gonna save back into Lightroom and I'll find it later. So then, all right, so we got this quick window, there's quick bathroom photo here. So I just put my 2 ambients into a folder. I'm gonna copy that folder, make the top one luminosity, and then I'm gonna kind of check out and see what it's doing for the picture. So inverting back and forth to like kind of get a feel for what it's doing. So what I'm gonna do is the flash is a bit bright on the sink counter. Gonna blend some of that in. Gonna blend in around the shower and the mirror reflection, and then on top here. And then also right here, then by the bed, you can kind of create some more shadows and things over here using the ambient layer. You know what, and that's good. Don't spend more time than you have to on a picture. Save that, close it. This one's relatively simple. Room is pretty easy. It wasn't as dark as some of the others. So I just took one ambient, copy that, make top luminosity. This is a window pull without flash, window pull with flash, which I always do one with, one without, just in case there was some reflection and some glare like right there in that doorway. There's a bit of a glare, so I want to have the other layer as a backup. I took one strong flash image, which honestly this would have been fine to just use this with my ambient and not waste more time on site. But you do see a little more shadows and depth and kind of stylized imaging here with the side to side. So I got my 2 flash layers here. We'll use this one as the base. I'll bring that down to the bottom, mask. My hardness is still at 0, so then make sure I mask myself out of here. I'm usually on 100% at least to start until I know either you or your light stand is no longer in the image 100%. Then you can go down to 40% where you're kind of where the 2 flash layers might start to overlap, and you can kind of tone down what you're brushing. And I feel like I'm talking kind of monotone. I'm a couple of beers in. It's also pretty damn late. I just wanted to do this now before I didn't do it at all. So sorry about that. So then I'll kind of invert both layers, see if I like anything else from the other image better. One thing I do see is these stairs, I kind of want those shadows to show up. It just kind of creates depth. And so yeah, I want to use that in the other image. So I'm gonna go through, brush that in, and that's good. Check one more time real quick. Maybe kind of get by the couch. Well, this is very minor, but you've got to do what you got to do. What the hell is that? Oh, there's a water bottle on the couch. Cool. All right. And then let's see. This is, zoom out. This is the top layer or the original flash layer I took earlier. There's some more light coming into that dining area off to the side. And then just overall better color tones on the ceiling. So I'm gonna brush some of that in. I'm gonna do 25%. Brush it in a little bit over here and over here. We'll go 50% in this dining area. Take it a little bit back out on the edge. All right, and so we got our flash layers there. Let's bring our window pulls back on top. Let's see if that darken mode works pretty well again. I think I should have made it brighter so that way the panes in between the windows were brighter than what's outside. Or else the darken mode blend doesn't really always work well if you don't kind of set that up properly in post. So be aware of that. It's a technique to speed up the process if you do it correctly. If not, you're kind of stuck doing a quick lasso here, which takes time, but it's not crazy, so just do it. And I really hope this is recording. Now I'm gonna get those top ones later. Oops, kind of messed that up, so go back and fix where I was crooked as hell. never seen a window I did that. Wow. Okay. Oy. There we go. Why does that keep doing that? It literally will not stay. Okay. One more time. So I'm just gonna bring those in real quick before something happens and I unselect by accident. If you've ever done that, it kind of sucks to do. You know what? That top layer really isn't important. I'll just take it out. It's just kind of darkening that upstairs or that patio ceiling that I really don't need. Even though I got some reflection right there, whatever, it's not that noticeable. And then what I'll also at times is sometimes it's like a lot of darker areas on the outside that you don't want them to be so dark. Just kind of brush it back out. So I'm at 30% here, brush it out. Don't need all that. All right, let's check out our ambient layers again. So just to add something else here, one thing I always try and do is I try to light the scene all by flash, where if I didn't have an ambient layer, it would be usable, it would still look nice. That's kind of my goal that I go for whenever I'm doing like a luxury shoot, side to side, composite flash photography, is light the scene without having to use any ambient at all. This is 0 ambient so far. So now let's see what the ambient's giving us. And then just to kind of be thorough, what to use in an ambient layer is you want to kind of show where light's coming from. So if there's light hitting walls, I want to show it light hitting the ceiling. I kind of want to show what the natural light looks like in the house. And then you also use it to kind of create depth and its overall style to an image. So I'm gonna blend in some of this fireplace here and then some of this couch and a tad bit on the side of the wall. But it is pretty strong, so I don't want to go crazy with it. So I can go better than that. I'm gonna go 40% here, and then some here. We'll do 20% on top. So I know some people say like rule of thumb, they'll always blend in 30% or whatever. I really don't go by that rule. Especially because as the luxury photographer, I want my work to look flashy and to be a bit over the top, because if realtors think that's what they need to make their marketing materials better or their photos better, then that's what I'm gonna do. Whether it's compositionally correct, like whether it matches Mike Kelly style or Scott Hargis, whoever, I just do it in a business sense, not always in a photography sense. I'm probably rambling here, but who fucking cares? All right. So then this is what the non-luminosity looks like. It's got more blues and greens in there that you really don't want to bring into your picture. I'm gonna go back and get this little edge here, just kind of create that depth. So that's without any ambient. Didn't go crazy, pretty light. And then save it and close it. So let's jump to one of these other rooms here. This was a bit more of a challenging room, especially like when it's much harder to bounce light when there's a ton of windows, and like on the right side it was just all windows, and then left side I didn't have much of a wall to bounce off of, and then you just have all this dark wood. So I took an extra ambient layer just to be safe, and then whenever I do layer my ambient layers, I do brightest to darkest, so brightest on bottom, darkest on top, and then keep it in that order. Duplicate luminosity group folder there. This was my window pull layer. I'm not sure if I'll use it. So my setup here was I was using a Cam Ranger. I put Godox 200 behind the camera pointing upwards. It might have been off to the side so I can kind of get it close to a wall and something to bounce off of. And then I was walking around the room with my other 200. So this is just, I did double the, no, this was, I was standing over here, sorry. These are two images I'm gonna bring in later, this one and this one. So I'm gonna bring in this one later and then this one later. I kind of just lit that backspace that was darker throughout the rest of the layers. So we'll come back to this one. So now we have our side to side here, right? So it doesn't matter which one you leave on top. Keep that one there. Brush 100%, mask myself out. And I was using my cell phone as my Cam Ranger controller. I have a larger iPad. I just find it kind of hard to hold and hard to place down and pick back up, whereas a phone fits in your pocket when you're kind of moving around, carrying all your stuff, trying to be efficient. So we got some pretty hard light hitting this table. Brush it out. Now let's do the invert, see what looks better on the other layer. So a couple things I see is maybe some of the shadowy, good looking stuff right here, those dining chairs or those bar tables, and then kind of this shadow here on the cooktop, whatever it's called. So let's do that. So I'm gonna be at like 40%, bring that in, and then hit these bar stools. And let's see if this looks any better with this. And didn't really do too much. I kind of had that back flash pretty bright. Normally I would want this to be a little more in the shadows to kind of create more depth, but still good enough. So, and then sometimes I'll do side to side and then one shot in the middle, just to kind of, if the sides weren't quite bright enough. Sometimes for bigger spaces you just can't get it in 2 side to side shots. So let's see if I like anything else from this layer. You know, I really don't need it, so I don't know if we need to use anything from here. Maybe some of this, let's see here. Take out that window I just brushed in. I'm getting some reflection. That's all I'm gonna use. I didn't need it. Oops. Maybe brushing a little more of this table so it's just because. Oops, I don't want the flash to hit it though. All right, so, and then we still have, so this is where the blend lighten mode comes in handy. I use blend lighten when I'm using less flashes, and so like if you're lighting a back room or a piece of a room and the other parts of the photo are dark, then blend lighten comes in handy. It's only gonna keep what is lighter in the picture. So blend lighten. So now check that out. Turn the layer off to dark, turn it back on. Just that part's bright, but be careful for little pieces that reflect. Like look right here on the dining table. It kind of puts some unwanted flash there. It's sometimes like you'll notice that you don't need all of the image. So you got to kind of use it carefully. So I'm just gonna brush it back in slightly. And I still don't like that ceiling. It's just too rough. Looks too flashed. Here's another image where I kind of lit up the dining room a little more. And I could use this to create some more shadowy contrast over here. So I'm gonna duplicate that layer real quick and use part of it for by the couch. And then that's good there. Take a look one more time. Hit a little bit on the ceiling where it's kind of not even up here. I kind of don't mind it being a bit darker up there, kind of showing that the details in the wood. And now we got this layer again. Go back to lighten and see if we like it. It didn't really do enough to need it. We could have gone without it, but I was kind of walking by there to get to that back room anyways, so I just did it. One thing I've noticed, I'm new to using Cam Ranger. Before I was doing this all by light stand. It was taking longer, but I also got it done in less layers because I was stopped to think more. Versus a Cam Ranger, you kind of just fire everywhere. Like you're like, hey, let's go here, 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 and then you have all these extra layers once you're on your computer, and it can take you a lot more time to edit if you're not careful about it. So we got that window pull, not necessary. There's no view, nothing to see out there. I'm not going to use it. Not going to waste my time any further on that. Let's check out our ambient layers. So overall, I mean, we don't need this. I'm gonna brush a little bit right here to kind of show that light hitting the wall, and then some back here where my flash, where I didn't do a great job using flash in that back room. Double check again. I'm gonna do like 20% on the couch and then check out the ambient layer without luminosity, because I'm gonna get some weird colors if I use luminosity on this orange couch. But what I did kind of mess up was I didn't, my ambient and my flash layers don't match. See how it's really warm and now it's much lighter and kind of green. What I've been doing lately is I've been shooting my ambient in Kelvin. So, and then I kind of range from like 35 to like 43 Kelvin, or 3500 to 4300 Kelvin based on the warmth of the space already. And then I'll then shoot my flash brackets in daylight, so the little sun white balance, and it kind of gives a naturally warm tone. And I'm doing that because if you shoot in the auto white balance, it's going to keep changing as you do different exposures. So when you go to blend pictures, it won't really come out evenly. So I'm going to try and warm the layer up a tad bit here. So photo filter, warmth. I kind of find the color balance in Photoshop doesn't really warm things up that much. So I just use the color balance and then it defaults to this first warming filter. So now it's a little bit closer matched to my flash layers. I'm gonna blend in a little bit of the couch and then a little bit of that back room just to kind of keep it all flush. All right. And then save. I think that's a pretty good image versus run and gun bracketing HDR. This one was kind of a, I'll show it to you since I kind of did the side to side flash and it was kind of a fail. I could have gone without it. So again, I took 3 ambients here, just knowing that I wasn't gonna flash all the space back here in the hallway and off to the right. So I kind of took a few extra. And then darkest to lightest, so now that's in the correct order. Put in a group folder, leave that as is. Second folder, luminosity. You can label these, but it's just kind of a waste of time to stop and label a photo. This was just a dark picture before I increased my settings. Like I was at like flash full power here, and this is like what it gave me at like ISO 500, maybe I was at 400, f7.1, 1/60th. So I had to then go to ISO 640, f7.1, and then like ISO 1/125th just to get enough power for my flashes to light the scene. I could use that to bring back some of the window because I did lose this window while I was doing my flash layer. So this is kind of a strong base layer with a little bit too much here in the left corner. Turn it off. So now I've got my 2 side to side. So they're pretty close together. So they're not going to blend seamlessly without using my other layers. Oops. All right, so brush it out. It actually does blend almost seamlessly. Maybe I was wrong. Okay, so let's see what else I missed. I almost always like invert a couple times and kind of see if I like something else from the other layer. All right, so we'll use that. And then let's go back to this top layer and then kind of use this now. So this is kind of an extra shot. I'm gonna use this to fix up here on the ceiling where the flash kind of didn't blend all the way. So brush it in. Nope, don't want that. Brush that back out. Check one more time. I can kind of hit this right here, this bottom left of the island, to just get some more light on them. There's a lot of details in this house. I mean, it's kind of a not my style, but someone will love all these details, I imagine. All right, and so now what do I got here? This one, I don't know if it's useful at all. Look at my sweaty pits. How gross is that? Yeah, gross. But my hair looks good. All right. So do I like anything from this image? Not much. Maybe it's a little bit hot right here above the cooktop again. And I could also use some of that other flash on this right side of the island. Let's just add that. So again, it's kind of a bit overkill, but I'm being thorough because I'm trying to hopefully teach and you'll learn something from me talking to myself at midnight. So then this last layer here, I just kind of used it to light that back room. It wasn't that bad, but so let's check it out. I'm not gonna brush in all of it. It was a little too high-powered flash. I'm gonna bring back out a little bit. All right, window pool. Just go through, lasso it real quick. How sad is this song? And again, my lasso is crooked, so I'm gonna fix that now. All right. Now I gotta fix a little bit on the ceiling still. It's still a bit too flashy. Let's check out my ambient layers, see what I got. I'll probably use this one for the ceiling. So it looks a bit green, so you see how it's kind of tinted on the green side and it's got some blue in there compared to the warm tone, which is also a little magenta. As a real estate photographer, you have to learn to see in warm, cool, and then tints magenta and green. Kind of got to learn to recognize that if you don't already. So I'm gonna fix that. Go to my image adjustments, some on the mask, go back to the actual picture. And go to color balance. I'm gonna turn it on the purple side. We'll just do like 2 and then 4 on the warmth. So you can kind of check out the ever so slight difference. I'm gonna take, we'll just say 40% on the top there. And if I was using the luminosity, it just would kind of turn gray and muted. It wouldn't really blend well. Especially for homes like this where there's wood involved, the luminosity really doesn't work that well. But I still have it there as a backup. See out there, it just kind of, the color tones just don't look nice. So we'll just use the ambient layer back there. I'm gonna, I actually did put like a really small speed light in that back room and kind of did a direct flash just to give it something back there. I figure it's always better to blend into a flashed layer with direct flash or not, and than just a black hole of a room. So you don't have to have like a super high powered flash to light a dark space. Just do a direct flash in a back room, and that's better than no flash at all. And then and for the record, I normally would use more ambient, but this is just kind of a weird house. It's got that kind of like a textured wallpaper, which doesn't always help for blending in ambient. So here's a good image. I think we'll stop at this one. I'll just finish it off. I'm not sure how long this video is, how long it's been. I'm not keeping track. So every time I invert, I just put it on top just to keep it in order. Those are my 3 ambients. create a folder, duplicate, luminosity, window pool. Again, window pool, I did saturate and kind of bring down highlights a tad bit. This was like 2:30, 3 o'clock, so the sun was like at an all-time, it was kind of low, but it was just wet. There wasn't a blue sky out, there was no clouds. Kind of makes window pools a bit more difficult. And then, all right, so now let's get the flash layer. This was my usual, again, so for all these pictures in this room, I have one flash behind my camera at like 1/2 to full power. So then I'll do one image of just me and my other flash in the back, trying to be as bright as possible, just as a fixer layer for my side to side. So close that out to check out what I did. This was kind of a extra layer here, and now we have our side to side. I'm gonna use this side first, just because this one's kind of got a lot more spill. It's got the floor, the fridge. I don't want to deal with blending all that out. So I'll start with the other one. And I'm at 100% brush. And then I also got to fix this counter. There's some reflection in the counter. Fix that. Invert. See what I might have missed. It's good enough, man. Actually, no, I'm going to fix these. There we go. Now it's good enough. Now I'll check out this other layer I created earlier. What do I like from here? I really don't know. I do kind of like, you see this like hallway space in between this entertainment stone unit and right here? I like that light. I'm going to blend that in. And also some of the stonework, this kind of created a bit more texture in the stonework. So let's just blend that in a little bit. And I got a little close to where I was at. No, I didn't. Okay. So yeah, it's pretty not that noticeable, but I do it anyways. A for effort. Now let's check out that like nuke flash I did earlier. I'll probably blend a little bit of the ceiling up here and then a tad bit of light onto the counter space here under the cabinets. So I'm at 30%. I don't have a certain go-to percentage. I just kind of do whatever I think is right. So now we have that window pool. I'm gonna duplicate, and then do my darken. See how that turns out. I wouldn't say it's like a. I'll probably still just have to lasso these real quick. I'm cool having to lasso if there's only like 4 or 5 pictures I have to do this to, then I'm okay doing it. But if it's like a glass house, I definitely want to try and make sure I have a shortcut when I'm in Photoshop, because I don't want to spend 12 hours in Photoshop for one photo shoot. You know what I'm saying? We have things to do. You guys probably have lives. What the hell? Dang it. All right, go back. There we go. Got it. I'm not sure if I can't get these straight because it's late or because I was never good at this lasso tool to begin with. All right, let's just do this. All right, I don't want to that patio ceiling in there. Take it out. Take it out. I'm just gonna kind of try and rough hand this area. It's not as important. There's no mountain view over here. Just rough hand it. I'm not sure if I'm not even saying that right. Rough handing. I think the wording on that is incorrect. All right, almost done. Let's check out the ambient layers here. Invert, what do we got? I'll probably blend in some of that stonework in the back and then that like hallway space. But for the most part, these ambients are kind of rough just because it's a dark home, kind of blown out. Check the darker one, see what we got. Bit Maybe I'll do like 20% by the fridge just so it's not super bright and kind of get some shadows in there. And then a little bit on the granite so it's kind of a little bright and you can't really tell what kind of granite it is. I want to be able to see the colors and whatever in there. All right, I think we're good. Save that. Double check I didn't leave any of my body parts in the picture. I think we're good. There's like something right there, but whatever. All right, last picture. I was looking for a bit more of a complicated side to side. That would kind of really be a challenge. So it's my two ambients. Put in folder, duplicate. This is my brighter flash layer. So these two, this is like my side to side. So whenever there's two rooms, I kind of put the flashes close together. See how myself and then the other flash on a stand are joined at the same wall. And then they're at the opposite walls. So it kind of just makes it a little bit easier to Photoshop. And I'm actually gonna blend. This one looks a bit easier to blend myself out along with the light stand. So I'm gonna do that. Whoops, make sure you have your mask set. So I got my mask. I'm gonna go down to like 30% and kind of blend a little more carefully now that we're approaching the part where the two flashes might meet. And now let's get this guy out of here. Or girl, you know, whatever. Gender neutral flash. And I think that's the good as I'm gonna get. I don't think I can perfect that. It was kind of a tough little tiny spot to light. Get rid of the shadow up here. Tone that down a tad bit. Did I miss anything? The realtor after the fact asked why I didn't move these two rugs. So I don't know. It is pretty nasty looking. All right, we've got that. So I have this like really bright flash to work with here. So I'm going to blend in the ceiling here. They're kind of not the same color tone, but that's okay. I'm not sure why they're so different. I'm pretty sure it was the same white balance. It's probably due to whatever the flash was hitting kind of created it's like having a gel on the flash. So be mindful of that when you're on site, or be ready to fix it when you're in post. There we go, not too bad, right? Just let a little bit of that in now. Let's see what else we got here. I'm gonna take like 20% to this area. I wanna keep kind of that darkness and that depth in there, but it was looking a bit too cool toned. All right, now it's a bit hot over here. I should have lowered my flash power in that back room. So again, I had a flash behind the camera, probably at not full power, but like 1/2 or a bit lower. And I had a smaller speed light in this other room, which I guess had a bit too bright or something. So let's check out, that's just an overexposed layer, which I can actually use for this hallway back here. We'll just do that. 20% blend back here. I'm not gonna try and make it perfect. Use a little bit of it over here. I do want to warm up that layer a tad bit, so it's kind of bluish back there. You can always preview, make sure you see the difference back there. It's kind of, now it's not blue. Now it's kind of matching the rest of the image. All right, now let's check out the other layer. It's a little better. Also, like with these like ceilings, there's like some lights, like a little circular light in this dome. So ambient layers are really good for showing off like accent lighting, whereas flash layer kind of drowns it out. So it's always a mix of the two. All right, now let's just see if we could, if luminosity ambient layers will add value to our image. I don't know, man. Try the brighter one. I think I'm gonna this little spot in the middle of the crevice, we got some light hitting that. Some moody light. I want to add some mood here. Maybe throw some light at these cabinets. Let's look again. I want to put some light on this wood, these wooden beams, but a little darker light. I'm gonna take 20% and actually hit this couch and stairs on bottom and then ceiling on top. And then hit these wood beams. And there's some light hitting that, but I kind of like the shadow created from the flash layer, so we're gonna leave that. Another quick tip, sometimes if you think your picture's looking a bit flat or you want to add just more sharpness to things like wooden beams, I'll take a level layer, tone down like 10 on the black and then up on the whites, and then kind of just brush in areas that I want to add some more sharpness to, like those wooden beams. This becomes kind of addicting. Like once you start to do it, then you want to keep doing it because you kind of like that sharpness and contrast it creates. I just think I do this more for higher end work. I'll take more time on each image, but real estate's kind of a speed thing. You want to get through it quick. On to the next one. So that's it just about. So just the overall workflow recap, I always do my presets before my blends. So I'll apply my preset and then I'll run through each image. So let's go find that first image we edited real quick, and then I want to show you something I did for it. So this isn't straight out of camera. So I did put some I had the exposure brush in a couple of spots. Let's reset that. This is straight out of camera. Starting preset. And then a lot of times what I'll do, like for darker spaces, you really can't get a perfect flash layer. So I'll still get I have a couple of brush presets here. The exposure brush is the one I use the most. I have an interior darken for when I want to bring down like this top right corner here is a bit bright. I could use this brush. Sky darken, warm tool, desaturate, and the rest I don't use. So let's use this one. So I'll kind of brush this dark corner so when I blend it later, it just looks better in the blend and I won't have to fix that dark corner after I bring it. So like once you bring a file from Lightroom into Photoshop, it turns into a JPEG. It becomes compressed when it goes back into Lightroom. So I'll always do all my edits of each layer beforehand. It does take longer, but I'm happier when I'm blending the pictures. I'm not blending a dark corner into a picture because it just didn't come in dark in the original image. So again, let's find another picture where I probably did that. So this picture here, let's check this out. The exposure, I do have a brush here and here. So let's reset this and I'll show you what I would normally do. I still did side to side here, but I just still took like one strong flash layer. So I'll get my exposure brush, brighten this up real quick. And then maybe in here too, I didn't have a light in that back room. I did put a light in the closet. It's just the little things. And yeah, so I always run through, like as I run through, sometimes I'll tweak an ambient layer to be less green to match the flash layer. If I know I'm going to rely on that image, I'll maybe brush up dark corners. Or an image like a photo like this where there's a lot of blue or green, and I know that luminosity is going to suck trying to blend it, I'll just take out the green and the blue and kind of keep it warm. That way when I blend it to my flash layer, it'll blend more seamlessly. Here's a flash layer for it. I basically just had one flash overhead and I put a flash in that back shower. And yeah, I think we are going to stop there, guys. Thanks for watching. Hopefully you learned something. And if not, then oh well.